In this lesson, you're going to learn about different types of angles. This lesson is an introduction to some of the types of proofs that we're going to be doing in the near future. So I'm going to start with the title of our lesson. It's going to be called Vertical Angles and Linear Pairs. And we'll start with some vocabulary. So the first definition will be complementary. This is two angles whose measures sum to 90 degrees. So an example would be if you had two angles such as a 20-degree angle and a 70-degree angle. Those two angles are complementary because they add up to 90 degrees. Okay? Supplementary is very similar, except these angles add up to 180 degrees. This is two angles whose measures sum to 180 degrees. So an example of that would be as if you had an angle that was 100 degrees and another one that was 80 degrees. Put together, those two angles add up to 180. Adjacent means that these are angles that have a common side and a common vertex, and they don't overlap. So I will draw a picture of what that looks like. That looks like this. Okay, here's an angle, and then here's another one. We'll call these angle 1 and angle 2. Those two angles are next to each other. They have a common side right here, but they do not overlap. Okay, the next definition is linear pair. A linear pair is two adjacent angles that are formed by two intersecting lines. And the picture that I drew for the previous example is not a linear pair, but they are adjacent. Here's an example of a linear pair. Okay, so you have to have a line and then another line, or this, for this one, this is a ray. This angle and this angle, together they are a linear pair. And they always add up to 180 degrees because of the sum of angles that make up a line is always 180 degrees. So not only are they a linear pair, if it's a linear pair, they're also supplementary. They add up to 180. There's only a few more terms left for us to discuss. The next one is vertical angles. Vertical angles, these are each of the pairs of opposite angles made by two intersecting lines. Okay, and here's an example. I'll draw an example for us. I have two intersecting lines like this. Okay, and I put some numbers, angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, and angle 4. So the pairs of vertical angles, are angle 1 and angle 3. By the way, if they're vertical angles, they're also congruent. That's the symbol here. So this angle and this angle, see how they're across from each other? When you see this X, they're across from each other. And angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. They're across from each other. They're at vertical angles, which means they're congruent. Okay. The next term is obtuse. This is an angle whose measure is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. An acute angle is very, very similar. An acute angle is an angle whose measure is less than 90 degrees. And a right angle is an angle that's exactly 90 degrees.
Students and staff, the FCA is meeting in the auxiliary gym. The FCA is meeting in the auxiliary gym. All are welcome.
So let's scroll down to do some examples. I have 3 examples prepared for us and a couple of practice problems. So here's our examples. We're going to use this vocabulary. So the first one says, name 2 angles that form a linear pair. So I need to find a linear pair first, which means I need 2 lines or 2 angles that are next to each other that add up to 180 degrees. So I see a line here, see a line here. What about, let's look at this line. Okay, and these 2 angles split in half. So I see this is an angle plus this other angle gives me this linear pair. They both together, all of this together gives me this straight line. So I'm going to go ahead and name those. Let's say this is angle AHC, this purple one here, and angle AHG. Those 2 angles form a linear pair. Okay, what about 2 angles that are complementary? That means they add up to 90. Okay, well, I see 2 angles right here, 47 plus 43. That adds up to 90, so that would be angle AHB. That's this one. And angle BHC. That's this angle. Okay. Letter C says find the measure of BHG. BHG, I'm going to label it with a marking here in blue. BHG is this angle here. So we have to figure out some stuff. We have to figure out what AHG is first. So you see how these 2 add up to 90? This is 90 degrees right here. If this whole line is 180, that means AHG is 90 degrees. So this is, I'm going to put a little box here, this is 90 degrees. I want to know what BHG is. So I have 90 plus 47. 90 plus 47 is 137 degrees. The last one here is BHE. BHE, I've got this 43 degree angle, this one I don't know, and I have a 59 degree angle. Okay, so since these 2 angles together give me 90 degrees right here, this over here has to give me 90 degrees because this is a straight line. So 90 degrees over here, 90 degrees over here. I'm going to subtract to figure out what CHD is. I need to figure this one out first. Okay, so I have a 31 degree angle here. So the question is BHE, BHE, 3 angles put together. So we're doing 43 plus 31 plus 59. Or you could take 180 and subtract 47. So go ahead and do that, and you should get 133. Okay, so let's do that real quick. So I could take 43 plus 31 plus 59. Let's do that on the screen. 43 plus 31 plus 59. And that would give me 133. So that's one way that I could come up with this answer. Here's the next page of notes. There's 2 more examples and then some practice. Example 2 says, find the value of x in the figure. So I see this straight line and then this ray here and then some markings on the angle measures. I know that these 2 angles form a linear pair because I see a line. Linear has the word line in it. I see a line. A linear pair adds up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to add these up. All of this added together should equal 180 degrees. So I have x and 2x gives me 3x. 107 plus 4 gives me 111. Okay, so I have an equation I need to finish solving. I'm going to subtract 111. And I should get 69. Okay, so let's do that real quick. 180 minus 111, 69. Oops, I accidentally wrote 60 there. This is 69. Okay, and then you would divide by 3. 69 divided by 3 is going to be what x is. 69 divided by 3 is 23. So your answer is 23. Okay, the next example says A and B are vertical angles. Okay, vertical angles are congruent. Remember, they're the ones that make an X. So this angle here and this angle here were vertical angles. These are congruent. Find the measure of A and the measure of B. So if they're congruent, I can take their measures and set them equal to each other. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 5x. Okay, and I get negative 2x equals negative 70. And then I'm going to divide by negative 2, and I get x equals 35. But that's not what the answer is, because the answer doesn't say find x. It says find the measures of the angles. So the measure of angle A, I'm going to plug 35 back in, is 3 times 35. So 3 times 35 is 105. Okay? And I also have the measure of angle B, which is 5 times 35 minus 70. Okay, so that would be 5 times 35 equals minus 70. That is 105. Oh, I probably could have skipped that part because A and B are congruent, which means they're both 105. Okay. There are 2 practice problems. This would be a great time for you to pause the video and try this on your own. Number 1 says find the value of x in the figure. So 63 degrees and 5x minus 7 are congruent angles because they are vertical angles. They're across from each other when you see these 2 lines intersecting. So I'm going to say they're equal. And I'm going to add 7. So I end up with 70 equals 5x. And then I divide by 5, and I get x equals 14. So x equals 14 is my answer. And then on the second practice question, it says find the measure of an angle that's supplementary to angle C. that means they add up to 180 degrees if the measure of angle C is 122. So we're just going to take 180 and subtract 122. And we should get 58 degrees. So just to make sure, 180 minus 122 is 58 degrees. That's it for our examples today. Thank you so much for watching.